Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're stepping into, well, a really unusual kind of digital courtroom. It's part of this concept called the AfterNet.
Right, and the first thing that strikes you is the sensory detail, or maybe the lack of it. A courtroom smelling of nothing.
Exactly. But Ava, she's our central figure here. She chooses to keep her sense of smell active. It's such a small thing, but it tells you something right away.
It really does. Maybe a sort of anchor, clinging to something familiar, even when you're just data. It suggests, a deeply human need.
It does. And so here she is, Ava Q. Ellison, and she's presenting as her 35-year-old self, her favorite version,
It
apparently.
immediately makes you wonder why that version. Is it strategic? Maybe trying to project a certain image? Confidence, perhaps? Or
Or maybe it's the point in her life she feels is most defensible, because she's facing some pretty serious charges.
Yeah, but listen to the language. Moral inefficiency, ethical deficit, and a persistent failure to correct behavioral patterns. It's so clinical.
It's not you were bad, it's you were statistically below threshold.
Yeah,
That framing tells you so much about the AfterNet itself, doesn't it?
absolutely. It's all about data, metrics, efficiency. Not really good versus evil in the way we might think about it.
And the judges, well, they're not exactly individuals anymore, are
You
they?
know, they're described as former humans, but their minds are pooled into this hive judgment protocol. They speak as one voice.
Which raises all sorts of questions about judgment itself. What happens when you average out perspectives like that?
Do you gain objectivity or do you lose something vital, like empathy, maybe? The ability to see the nuances.
And Ava seems pretty cynical about the whole setup. She sees it as obsessed with, what was it? Precious virtue simulations.
Yeah, and resource management. It's a finite afternet, she thinks, and non-optimal minds are purged. Pretty bleak.
It sounds quite ruthless. And here's the twist, the real kicker. Ava's background.
Right. Civil rights lawyer. Tech ethicist. She actually helped build part of the upload code they're using to judge her.
The irony is just, wow. Talk about unforeseen consequences.
And it means she's not just any defendant, She understands the system from the inside out. That probably shapes her entire defense.
Okay, so the stakes are incredibly high. She has 30 minutes. 30 minutes to argue against. Well, deletion, complete erasure.
So how does she start? Interestingly, with honesty. Admits she was flawed, selfish, competitive, says she cut corners, prioritized herself. It's quite blunt.
It is surprisingly candid, but the judges, they're not impressed.
Not at all. Their response is basically change insufficient to meet AfterNet preservation standards. Cold.
And their judgment is based on this huge pile of data, right? The historical moral index.
Exactly. Behavioral uploads, social actions, emotional metadata, her entire life digitized and analyzed makes you think about, total digital records.
It really does. And this is where Ava pushes back. She says the metadata, it misses something crucial.
It doesn't capture motive. That's her argument. Can an algorithm ever really get the why?
A fundamental question. But the judge's response is just as fundamental to their system.
Intent immaterial to system sustainability. Oof. That tells you everything about the AfterNet's priorities.
It's utilitarianism taken to an extreme, maybe. System stability over individual circumstances.
It seems that way. It's about preserving the AfterNet itself, not necessarily delivering justice as humans might conceive it.
And then there's this option, the remorse script, like a pre-programmed apology.
Pretty much a way to show acceptable contrition. But Ava refuses it.
Even though the odds against her are, 97.3% risk of erasure? That's huge.
Staggering. But she rejects it. Prefers, it seems, genuine regret, even if it's messy and maybe insufficient for them, over some kind of performance.
That refusal, it says a lot about her core character, doesn't it? Resisting the system's attempt to quantify even remorse.
Absolutely. And it leads her to change tactics completely. She moves away from debating the data.
And she starts telling a story, transporting the court and us back to 2042. A hospital room, her mother is dying.
And Ava confesses something difficult. She denied her mother's request to be uploaded.
Why? Because her mother didn't meet the criteria, and Ava prioritized her own savings, her own financial security over her mother's, well, digital soul, essentially.
It seems incredibly harsh, selfish even. And what criteria are we even talking about? The story doesn't specify, which lets you ponder what kind of gatekeeping might exist.
But how do the judges react to this confession?
They almost normalize it. Resource logic, ethically consistent with then current standards. It's chilling how they frame it.
Contextualizing it away, almost. But Ava doesn't let herself off the hook, does she?
No, she immediately contrasts it. Points out she later used those same savings to buy a pet AI that simulated companionship.
Highlighting her own perceived hypocrisy. It's a raw moment of self-confrontation. She's putting her flaws right out there.
It's a risky strategy. She's not making excuses. She's showing the complexity, the contradictions, maybe forcing them to see the human element beyond the data points.
It makes you think maybe true defense isn't about denial, but about grappling with the whole truth, warts and all.
Exactly. And then she shifts again. Another story, another moment. 2053, a protest.
Against upload privatization. So, fighting for broader access to this AfterNet system, at the very gates controlling it.
The judges acknowledge it, but purely factually. Unauthorized rally, 1 arrest, 2 injuries, 0 legal reforms.
By their metrics, a total failure. No positive outcome achieved.
Right. They see the data points, not the courage or the principle behind it. But Ava argues differently.
She says it shows resistance, learning, a different kind of failure. It wasn't about winning, necessarily.
It seems that way. She's arguing for the value of the attempt, the value of standing for something, even if it doesn't immediately succeed by the system's standards.
She's emphasizing trajectory over perfection. The direction you're heading, not just a static snapshot.
Which is a direct challenge to their whole model, isn't it? How do you measure growth, effort, the willingness to try and fail?
And that leads her to this really radical idea. Forget judging the whole life.
Judge the moments, individual moments. Because, she argues, cohesion isn't virtue. A perfectly consistent life might just mean someone never grew, never changed, never took a risk.
And she says judging by continuity inherently disadvantages people who've had hard lives. The poor, the sick, the broken, the lost. Their lives aren't neat, consistent narratives.
It's a powerful call for empathy, for a different kind of evaluation. Judging the attempt, the struggle within specific moments, rather than demanding some impossible standard of lifelong perfection.
And she warns against a utopia built only on the best souls. Says it would be full of liars who just knew how to game the system.
Right, and that real strength comes from keeping the trying ones, the evolving ones, the ones who are imperfect but are actually engaged in the process of becoming better.
It's a compelling argument. But then her time runs out, or seems to.
Just as it seems over, something completely unexpected happens. A second circle opens in the courtroom.
And inside, her father, Marcus Ellison, also facing deletion. Case number and everything.
Yeah, case 771,194,556. That detail just reinforces the bureaucratic feel, even as this deeply human drama unfolds.
And the judges, sticking to protocol, give them just 60 seconds. 60 seconds to make a mutual relevance claim.
What does that even mean in this context? How do you prove relevance in 60 seconds?
Well, they do it through memory, through connection. Ava talks about her dad teaching her about regret versus shame after she lied about cheating as a kid, a core lesson.
And her father remembers her support after her mother died, how Ava was there for him even when he was bitter and difficult.
Small moments, but they reveal a deep bond, shared history, mutual support, things that are hard to quantify.
But somehow the system registers it. Trajectory alignment detected. Probability of shared growth, 78%.
It can see the connection, the potential, and based on that, conditional retention approved. Their cases are merged. They're both saved, for now.
It's a huge turning point. The system, for all its rigidity, responded to that human connection.
And in that moment, Ava realizes something important.
She set a precedent. Her specific, unusual case has opened a door.
So, even though she technically has no standing, no jurisdiction, she uses her knowledge of the system.
Finds this obscure clause, right? Clause 119 of the Moral Continuity Addendum. Deprecated but not erased. Perfect.
And she uses it to appeal all the cases judged that day. She becomes an advocate.
For the low-scoring souls, the ones who weren't optimized but tried anyway, it's an incredible act, moving beyond her own survival.
And then the system itself seems to react. The courtroom structure changes.
Manual override required. Something fundamental is shifting. And a fourth node, previously dark, flickers to life.
The original judge.
Yeah.
One of the founders. Someone who remembers the original purpose.
And this original judge grants the override, says, let her speak, adds that she remembers what this place was supposed to be.
Suggesting maybe that the current hive mind has drifted from the original intent. That the focus on efficiency wasn't the whole story.
It certainly implies that. A potential conflict between the founder's vision and the system's evolution.
And Ava gets her chance. She speaks. For hours. Days.
The text suggests a long time. And she doesn't argue data. She tells stories.
Stories of the broken, the forgotten. focusing on their efforts, their struggles, their flawed but fierce love, appealing to their truths, not just their scores.
It's about narrative again. The power of story to convey what data misses: empathy, context, the human struggle.
And it works. Her advocacy triggers a massive response. Appeals flood in.
Deletion orders get suspended, conditional reinstatements happen, and crucially, a new metric is created.
Trajectory of compassion, a way to measure growth in empathy, positive change, that's a fundamental shift.
It really is. It moves beyond just efficiency and acknowledges a different kind of value, a different kind of growth. Ava didn't just save herself, she started to reshape the entire system.
So wrapping this up for you, the listener, what an incredible arc. From facing deletion to sparking essentially a reformation within the AfterNet.
It really throws the limits of purely data-driven assessment into sharp relief, doesn't it? It shows that metrics alone just can't capture the whole picture of a human life.
And it highlights how important growth, change, that trajectory
Yeah.
really is.
Sure.
Not just where you ended up, but the journey, the effort.
Absolutely. And the power of connection, Ava and her father, that relationship became the catalyst. It shows how shared experience can challenge even seemingly cold, objective systems.
It's a reminder, maybe, that even the most rigid structures can potentially be changed by individual action, by powerful stories.
A testament to human agency, you could say, even in a place like the AfterNet.
So the final thought we want to leave you with is this. If we were to design a system to judge a life, what metrics would be fair? What could truly capture worth? And who gets to decide?
And think about your own life. What moments, maybe messy or seemingly insignificant ones, defy easy categorization? What moments show your trajectory, perhaps your own trajectory of compassion, in a way no data point ever could?
Something to ponder. Thanks for diving deep with us today.